broadcasting the good news of Jesus Christ to North America and to people around the world. We welcome you to Nashville Alive. Our faithful prayer partners are here to take your important calls. So join us today for an inspirational time of interview and song. Nashville Alive. Now, here's your host.
Welcome to Nashville Alive, where we share good things that are going on around the Nashville area. I'm your host, Michelle Moore with MichelleMinistries.com. I'm excited about today's show. We've got our special guest, Miss Christy Neal, who's an author of Don't Ever Tell. Wow, this sounds good. Well, actually, I know it's good because I've read the book, and I got to say it was a page turner. I couldn't put it down.
Thank
and read it all in about, in one day, in one afternoon. So when I said it was a page turner, I couldn't put it down, I wasn't kidding.
Awesome.
It is a raw memoir of what you have been through, and I got to ask you, where did you get the idea to do this book?
Well, I will be honest, it was not my idea. I was in quite the mess, and I was on my knees praying and begging God for a woman that I could just talk to that had been where I had been, done the not smart things that I had done. I had walked through an affair with someone in my church and came out with the truth, and was in a terrible, isolated, shame-filled spot. So I remember this day I was on my knees in my daughter's room begging for this woman, and God just whispered to my spirit, "You are her." And I got so mad. I was like, no, I'm not. I'm a hot mess. I'm divorced. No one will listen to me. But over time, I finally said, yes, I will write this book. And I really feel like it's needed, because there's not many tools for women out there and a voice for women, especially Christian women, that step out and commit adultery. And so I just felt like there needed to be a voice for that.
Mm-hmm. The statistics are staggering, too, about how many marriages actually have an adulterous situation that goes on in their marriage, whether it be the man or the woman. But I've seen some statistics through the years about female cheating and adultery, and it was much higher than I would have expected. So it is something that a lot of people are going through. They don't talk with somebody, they don't have somebody to talk to, I'm sure, is a lot of it, and so I could see where that'd be a really difficult struggle, where the enemy could really come in and get a hold of you.
Yes, it's such a taboo topic, but yet it's just like cancer. Everyone knows someone that's been affected by cancer, or themselves have been affected. Adultery is the same way. But what I found was there's so many tools out there for men, and it was more accepted, a more accepted struggle for the man. But for the woman, especially in the Christian realm, it just was not spoken about.
Okay, so Christy, this book is your testimony and the telling of your story. So why the title, Don't Ever Tell?
Yes, well, I was at a hair salon one day, and I don't know what it is about hair salons, but you just start spewing things. And so I was sitting there, and I met a lady, and I must have said something that cued her off that I was in a relationship outside of my marriage. And so she started sharing with me. So this was all before the truth had come out. And she shared with me that she had walked through something similar. It was within her church. She repented and healed of it and never told anyone. But then God put it on her heart years later, 7 or 10 years later, to confess. And so she did. And when she did, she was treated as if the affair had just happened. She was asked to not serve anymore in the congregation. She lost friends. And so her advice to me that day was, don't ever tell. She was so defiant, don't ever tell. And so that just struck me to how taboo this is, and what a voice it needs.
And isolating. It's
Yes.
very isolating. Okay. All right, so you mentioned in the book that silence is one of the worst responses that the church can have to a member. Okay, can you explain that?
Sure. I feel like when I came out with my truth, everyone all of a sudden didn't know what to do with me. Wouldn't look at me a lot of times, wouldn't speak with me. I felt like I had leprosy, to be honest, and I was shocked by it. because these were people that talked to me all the time. I'm a very likable person and I'm very extroverted. And so I was just shocked. And then I was shocked at how painful the silence was. Silence hurts. And I speak about that in the book. And so I have a chapter in the book that talks about a character. Her name is Sierra, and she came to me one day in the hallway of my daughter's preschool. So she was still going to preschool at the church that I had my affair at. And most everyone would pretty much scatter from me. And this one particular lady that happened to be a friend of mine pulled me aside. She looked me in the eye, which was very different. People were not looking me in the eye. And she told me, I love you, but I'm so angry with you. I'm so disappointed in you. I don't understand this, but I'm praying for you and I'm praying for your family. And I don't know when I'll talk to you again because I'm so mad, but I love you. And that gave me so much hope, because her telling me that she was disappointed in me first spoke to me. She expected more out of me. So there was someone that still believed in me, but more so she saw me and treated me as a person, not as my sin, because all of a sudden I was being treated as my sin and not as Christy Neal. And that was the most painful thing. But she just looked me in the eye and was honest with me. And so that's the best thing that you don't always have to have the perfect words.
Yeah, yeah. And just that transparency. It said, hey, look, I'm angry. This is where I am. And it's not the silence that you were experiencing, because you said that hurts.
Yes.
But at least it's something, you know, that says, hey, I do love you. I don't agree with this. I don't know what to think of it, whatever it might be. But she didn't have a resolution, but at least she addressed it with you.
And she gave me hope that other people might be feeling the same way, even though they didn't know what to say. They're wonderful people in that church. They just didn't know what to say or what to do.
That's so good. Okay, so Christy, your affair was with somebody that was in the church, and he was married as well. And so you described the other couple as the couple that the church chose to support.
Yes.
All right. In your opinion, how should the church have responded?
Sure. I remember having a realistic view of what was going to be the response. I remember thinking, we probably do not need to go to this church anymore. I did not expect it to be so sudden and without some type of exit interview. I really felt like the pastor and maybe the elder of our home church or another elder that had dealt with a similar situation in the past would sit with us at the pastor's office and kind of say, okay, here's where we are. This is not good, but here's a plan. You know, we feel it's best for you not to be here anymore. And I would have agreed with that. We would like to plug you into another congregation that we know of. That was my hope, that they would have plugged us in to another church that did know what to do with us, that maybe had a couple or two couples that had walked where we'd walked and survived and come out stronger and a better family for it. And I really just wanted to be plugged in somewhere else. And I think one of the hurtful things to watch was I felt like they also didn't know what to do with my husband. So I felt he was being persecuted for what I had done. It was very difficult.
Yeah.
And so there's two hurting families. Bottom line, it doesn't matter if it's the woman that stepped out, the man that stepped out, but there's two hurting families. And as I was thinking, you know, in a womb and there's twins, you would never only give all the nutrients to one of the babies, because you know it's going to weaken the other baby and they might not make it. And that's how I kind of visualize, you know, a church is a spiritual hospital. You have two families coming to you. We are hurting, we are broken, we don't know what to do. So there needs to be equal love and support, even though it might look different. You know, one might get to stay and they're loved on and supported. One might have to go to another congregation, but this congregation can still follow up and check on the improvement and maybe be in contact with that pastor and those elders or the leader of the church. I do think there is a better way to approach it that would have given my first family a better chance.
Yeah, and I want to clarify too that you all came forward with the church
Yes.
to get help. And so it wasn't hey, we're in love and we're leaving our spouses and we need help with the church. It was, hey, we're married, this has been going on, and we need help as to how to walk this out.
We were in a big mess.
And you were asking, hey, I'm in a big mess and we need help.
Yes,
Okay.
we need some serious help.
Was there a key scripture throughout this time that you leaned on that got you through these difficult times?
Sure. Jeremiah 29:11 was probably my rock, because so many people were telling me I had messed up my life. I'd messed up my daughter's life. I was ruined. So much negativity was being spoke over me, and I couldn't see how anything good could come of this. Nothing. And Satan was all over me about it. And I just remember clinging to that verse, for I know the plans I have for you, saith the Lord. Plans to prosper you, not to harm you, plans to give you hope in a future. And that's what I wanted so desperately, was hope. Mm-hmm. And to watch what he has done, for me to even be able to sit here and have a voice around this is a miracle, really. And everyone that I have spoken to is very welcoming with this message. And I never dreamed that in a million years, because I remember when I agreed with God, okay, I'll write this book, and it was really more like, no one will read it, I'll show you. And it hasn't been that.
That's so good. All right, so how do you hope that this book is going to help others that read the book?
Sure. First, I hope it helps women like me heal quicker, forgive themselves faster, find hope sooner than I did. Second, I hope that it helps churches see both sides. There's always more sides to the story, and to have compassion around this, and to start really building tools to address this when it does come up in the congregation. And then third, for just Christians and people to know how to help friends that might be walking through this, or other people they know, how to speak to them and love on them in their brokenness.
Well, I think, too, when I read the book, one of the things that stands out to me is it doesn't even have to be about having any kind of cheating or whatever. It could be anything, that maybe somebody's done something that you don't necessarily agree with, don't know how to respond to or how to support them. You love them, you care about them. But it goes back to what you were saying earlier about the silence. The silence can be hard. The silence can be so deafening. And, and so it's really about, I think one of the big lessons in this book is about realizing how important you can still love someone who's sinned, who's hurting, maybe something big. We're all sinners. But it's just something, maybe that's bigger, that you would have thought, oh, I didn't know you, or I feel like I don't know this person, but you can still support them, love them in some way, and say, I'm praying for you.
Yeah.
And
love
so it's
love the sinner, hate the sin.
Yes, yeah. And so I know you do some coaching.
Yes.
And so can you share a little bit about how somebody could reach you if you wanted to speak with them?
Sure.
Or they wanted to speak with you and need some help?
Yes, I do mentoring, because that's what I wanted most, was just a woman to walk beside me and talk with. And so you can find me on my website at www.choosedifferent.org. Okay. And also I have a Facebook page where they can reach out to me there at Choose Different Ministries. And through my website and through my Facebook, you can reach me.
All right, so Christy Neal, thank you so much for coming in today.
I appreciate it.
Again, don't ever tell. You can get it on Amazon.com or reach out to Christy. And we've got another guest in the second half coming up. It's going to be a great treat. It's Ditch the Drama with Ginny Priz here on TCT TV. Welcome back to Nashville Alive. I'm your host, Michelle Moore. I'm here in the studio with Ginny Priz, author of Ditch the Drama. I gotta say, I love the title, and of course, I love the cover. But so, Ditch the Drama.
Yes.
Where in the world did you come up with that title?
Oh my goodness. I started as a life coach and a speaker, and my tagline outside of that was "Trust God, ditch the drama." And every time I told people that, they would repeat back to me, "Ditch the drama." Oh my gosh, wow. I need drama. I need to ditch that right now. And so it really resonated with me that people were saying they're crying out for help. They understand drama. That's something we all have in our life, whether we've caused it or someone else has come in and just come through it as a tornado in our life and caused drama through it, that we can all relate to it. But none of us really are equipped fully equipped to handle the drama that comes through our life. And so it was just something that I thought, wow, you know what? If people relate to this, they'll definitely be able to relate to the healing that is available to them as well.
Oh, that's so good. And you were just seeing that that was resonating with
Yes,
people that you
there's
were
a need for
coaching.
it. People are crying out for it. We all have drama, hands down.
All right, so great title. How were
you.
you inspired to write Ditch the Drama?
Oh gosh, I wasn't looking to write a book at all. In 2011, I moved from New Jersey and down to Tennessee, Nashville, Tennessee, and I was convinced that I was on top of the world. I was unstoppable. God had opened all of these doors for me to get down here. It was wonderful. And then 6 weeks after moving here, I got a DUI. And for me, that was really tough because I had built an identity around being the responsible girl. This nice little box. I fit in that box just perfectly until I was arrested, and I spent 48 hours in jail, and then everything just kept crumbling down. There was nothing left of me. I was 850 miles away from all of my friends and family, and I had a choice to make. What was I going to do? And I decided to rely on God through everything, reach out to Him, ask Him what I needed. He brought the people and the wisdom that I needed in my life, and there was so much healing that came from that. He shifted my perspective so much so that I could build my identity on Him and who I am to Him. And it was just such a beautiful, wonderful transformation. I was just in awe of everything that He brought. And after about a 3-month honeymoon with the Lord, it was wonderful. I loved it. And then He said, okay, great. Now we're going to do some work. Now that you've got the healing, you've got to share it with people. And He just used one word over and over again. And that word was right. Right. And I would ask all kinds of follow-up questions, but He just kept saying, right. And I started with a blog, but I decided very quickly that a blog is not going to give all of the answers. 500 words or less is not the conduit from which I wanted to explain this whole perspective and idea
So
of which
like
I was.
a blog wouldn't help you to go deep enough.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly. I can hit some of the key points, but it's not really going to help people the way I wanted to really help people change their lives. So that's when I
That's where it
decided
came.
the book was going to be in progress.
All right, what kind of drama do you talk about in the book?
Well, I define drama as not just interpersonal relationships, but as our following our own will rather than following God's will. And when we make decisions based on our own selfish desires and our own needs to control a situation, then we can really start to get off track. And God's will is to keep us in a place that's safe, in a place that's going to be the best for us. And anything outside of that, there's going to be a whole lot of different consequences that are not only going to affect our own lives, but affect the people around us as well.
Yeah, that's so good. And a lot of times the drama that we have, it's not always external. It can be that things we do.
Absolutely.
That only adds to
Absolutely.
it.
We are our own worst critics. Aren't we our own worst
Worst
enemy?
enemy.
Yeah, absolutely. We beat ourselves up in our head, or we don't want to accept what's going on around us. It's hard for us to even deal with our own emotions sometimes. It's so interesting to me how we go through life, we want to go, so busy, but we don't stop to understand that we have to process through emotions as they come up. And it might be something little or it might be something big. We all process things a little bit differently in our own timing, and to allow for that to happen.
That's good. That's really good. All right. So, what's your solution? You know, how do you propose that somebody does ditch the drama?
Absolutely. Trust God. It was right there in my tagline, trust God, ditch the drama. And one of the things that I do throughout the book is I break down the serenity prayer. That's really a conduit through which people can access that idea of how do I trust God? Where do I even start? Because there's so many of us that have been hurt by people in our own lives that we can't even understand. How could I begin to trust someone that I can't see with my own eyes? And the Serenity Prayer allows you to kind of pull that apart and really start to look at, well, what are the things that I need to accept? And like I said, you know, it's not just the hard things that happen in our life, but it's the positive things as well. God's love, never going to leave you. He's never going to forsake you. He is there for you 100% of the time. His grace, His mercies, new every morning. That is a huge truth that is really just as difficult for us to accept as the hard things that happen to us and the trauma that can happen to us. And if we can start to bring that in, then we have the opportunity to, of course, then ask Him for the courage to change the things that we can. And instead of banging our head against the wall trying to get things done that are outside of our control, like other people and their opinions and their behaviors, we can start to see what is it in my own life that I can change. I am the only person that I can change, that I have control over. And in my own story, obviously I had a DUI. There were moments where I didn't have control over what I was doing either, and my own choices. But when we are able to ask Him, what can I change? We can start to change our perspective, how we see the world, how we see other people, be willing to accept that we have differences. We have differences of opinion. That's okay. It's not the end of the world, because God still loves me and He still loves you. And then, of course, there's so much wisdom that He's able to give us in those moments when we need it most, because every situation is different. But let me tell you, the answer is always the same.
Trusting God.
Trusting God. Absolutely.
All right. So looking back in your life, I want to ask you, what about your life? Would you say was one of the hardest things for you to accept? That made the biggest breakthrough for you?
The biggest breakthrough for me.
Yeah, because I like the word accept. So many times people go, if only, and I've got to say, even myself, I even dealt with that years ago, accepting that my parents had abandoned me. And so it was accepting that it wasn't different. It wasn't what it should have been, that the enemy did come in and steal what should have been mine or could have been mine. But it was the acceptance that changed my life. So I want to kind of sit on this for a second here. So what did you accept or have you accepted that made a big life change for you?
Well, I'll tell you that most people think it has something to do with my arm, because I do have a prosthetic. I was born with only part of my right arm, and it is pretty cool. I love it. I get to pop it on and off at will. I'm very handy that way. But this is something that the Lord has blessed me with, and my parents were actually able to tell me from the very beginning that this is the way God wanted to make you. And something you'd think that would be the most maybe traumatic or something that would stand out, is actually was the easiest thing for me to accept from such a young age. The hardest thing for me to accept, or the most life-changing thing for me to accept, was that God loved me no matter what. Because I was such a perfectionist for so long, and I wanted to be such a people pleaser. Not that I thought that was a great thing, but making sure that people accepted me and loved me for who I was so important to me. And if someone didn't like me, then I would really work very, very hard, or I would put it on myself and beat myself up that you should have done this, you should have done that, shooting all over myself, right? Of course. So when I recognized that was okay, that people didn't need to accept me because God accepted me for who I was. And there was no moment in my life when I had gone without His love and His acceptance of me, my soul, and who He made me to be.
Yeah, it's so interesting too, because you would think it would be something negative or something you had done that had happened to you, whatever it might be, and really it's something so great and so positive. Sometimes we can have such a hard time accepting some of the good things. It's just like sometimes we have grace and mercy toward others, but yet we're so hard on ourselves to show and to give that grace and mercy. So that's so good. All right, so ditch the drama. Let's talk about I have another question for you about it. So were you able to draw a lot of personal experience with Ditch the Drama in your own life?
Yeah, absolutely. As I said, I was an extreme people pleaser, and of course I had the addiction to alcohol as well. And when I was able to finally start to get recovery for that, I finally learned about a little term called codependency. And it's not something that I had ever heard previously, but once I heard it and I recognized what it was, meaning that I needed that approval, as I said, from other people. In order to feel good about myself, I needed other people to feel good about me. And I was searching for it, straining for it. It was like I was just trying to get up out of the pit, and I couldn't do it. That's what it felt like. But once I recognized it was a thing. I was idolizing people above the Lord, and so I could change. I could move that, whereas I thought there was something broken inside of me for so long, and I pulled all of these people down with me, trying to make them behave the way I wanted them to. Everybody had to love me, and failing to maybe just sit there, have a conversation with someone and say, "How are you?" and really be present with them. That was such a difficult thing for me. So you can imagine all these people who are trying to be there for me, understanding, but I'm pushing them away at the same time. So for
That's
me,
a big lesson.
It's oh my gosh.
And to be able to break through that, because it's, I don't want to call it a habit even, but like you said, codependency, and it's
Yeah,
a need. So,
absolutely.
all right. So Ginny, I know that you have a coaching program, and that you also help and mentor. So can you share a little bit about how someone can get in touch with you?
Sure. You can, of course, reach me at my website, which is ginnypriz.com. I'm also on Facebook, on Twitter, but ginnypriz.com has everything there. And of course, the book actually has its own website, which is ditchthedrama.net.
Okay, so you can go to ditchthedrama.net and also purchase the book there as well.
Absolutely.
And of course, it's Amazon.com.
Amazon.com as well.
As well. So
Yes.
there you go. And if you want to speak with Ginny, you can go to her website. And also, this is Nashville Alive. And if you are enjoying the shows and the information and want to prayerfully consider possibly supporting Nashville Alive, you can always go to tct.tv, or you can always also go to the phone and dial 1-800-232-9855. Again, that's 1-800-232-9855, and be able to securely donate to the network and be able to support Nashville Alive, which shares and works so hard at being able to share some of the good things that are going on around the Nashville area. And so, Ginny, it's been so great. Again, ditch the drama. I love it, with Ginny Priz, and just what an inspiration, helping people. And
Thank you for having me, Michelle. It's
Absolutely.
lovely.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for coming in and being such an inspiration to so many people. You've been great. Thank you, Ginny.
Thank you.
All right. See you next time.
Garth and Tina want you to be a partner in this ministry. Please send your best love gift today. P.O. Box 1010, Marion, Illinois 62959. This has been an exclusive TCT Network production.